Welcome into the show. Today, we're talking about Baylor quarterback commit and Dripping Springs quarterback Austin Novosad. And we're talking about him because he's nearing his decision. Next week, he's making his decision. He's got a few visits lined up this week. So I felt like now was a great time to talk about one of the prospects who I think has been the most intriguing over the last couple months. Lots of schools have gotten involved, from Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Stanford. But he has his Final Four right now, and it is Baylor, where he's been committed since last December. You got Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas A&M are his Final Four, and he has visits lined up starting today. He's going to Notre Dame. He's going to take a trip up there, an unofficial visit, no official visit allowed currently in July. So he's going to go up there, see what Notre Dame has to offer, right? Marcus Freeman, Tommy Rees, they've been recruiting him really hard as they've been trying to get a quarterback for the 2023 class, which makes a lot of sense. You know, they got in a little bit late, so just getting him on a visit is a big deal, but still a lot of work to do, a whole lot of work to do, I think, to catch up to the other three. Ohio State not getting a visit this week, but he did visit there twice in June, and he took an official visit there, which he's only taken 2 official visits, one to Ohio State and one to Baylor. And then the final one is A&M, and Texas A&M is one who might get a visit on Friday. Now, we'll see if that happens. I don't know if it will or not. I think right now I'd probably lean towards it will happen, but that's just a guess more than anything. He hasn't decided, but he will not be at A&M for the pool party on Saturday because he'll be back in Waco at Baylor for camp. He's going to compete in one of Baylor's camps, the final camp of the summer. And then they also have an event with the committed prospects. There's going to probably be about 15 of the commits for the 2023 class from Baylor's class, and they're all going to be there just to get to know each other a little bit better and talk and just kind of meet each other, the ones that Austin hasn't gotten to meet in the past. He'll get to meet them and then also talk to some of his buddies that he's been able to build throughout the recruitment process. So let's talk about Austin. He obviously has been a riser, a major riser. He finally got his big rankings push over the last couple weeks. He's now the 89th player in the nation, according to 247, and quarterback number 8 in the entire class. And as far as composite goes, he's a top 150 player in the entire nation, and he's a 4-star on all recruiting services. ESPN was the last to update. They finally did. So he's a 4-star everywhere you look. And this is a big deal. I mean, he's continued to rise up the rankings and continue to be a focal point of all of these recruiting classes. I mean, these are some big schools when you're talking about Notre Dame, Ohio State, A&M, and Baylor. 4 really, really good schools with high hopes and a lot of promise going on into next season. So let's kind of go through a couple of these. So Notre Dame, like I said, unofficial visit. It'll be Tuesday for the cookout event. They missed out on Dante Moore, who was the 5-star quarterback, the number 2 quarterback in the country. And when they missed out on him, they had to kind of recalibrate. And that's where they went out, offered Austin Novosad. So they were able to get him on campus. Like I said, the relationship with Tommy Rees has been a big one for the Fighting Irish. And now getting him on campus, they're going to have to do quick work, though, because he's only there Tuesday. They do have an event, so they're going to have some guys who are interested in Notre Dame and committed to Notre Dame on campus. So he'll get to meet some of those guys. He's close with Braylon James and Jaden Greathouse, who are 2 Notre Dame commits from the Texas area. So they've been trying to work their magic as well and trying to get Austin to lean that way. But to me, I think Notre Dame really has to get him on an official visit during the fall to really have a chance in this recruitment. That's just kind of where I'm at right now, but we'll see how the visit goes on Tuesday. As for A&M, the Friday visit would be a big one. So he's an A&M legacy, has had family go there. Both his parents went there. Jimbo Fisher and Daryl Dickey have done a great job building that relationship. And this is one of those where you look at A&M and you go, okay, so they offered a bunch of quarterbacks before they offered Austin. And that was kind of one of those setbacks for them, is that they kind of had to overcome that because they had him on campus a ton. He'd been to a ton of games. He camped there and no offer came. And then when A&M missed out on some of their other quarterback prospects, they tried to circle back to Austin. And I think their message has gotten across, and I think that he's over that. I don't think that that's a big deal anymore. But they're still late on building that relationship with him and making him feel wanted and making him feel like a priority. Like, that is still there. And that's one of those things where it's been a little bit of a hindrance. And so I do think they need to get him on campus again. He visited in June, but I think getting another visit on Friday could really help them kind of get back in the race a little bit, even though I do think they're one of his probably top 2 schools at this point. Like I said, Baylor on Saturday, that'll be just camp, unofficial visit, a chance to have an event with the other 2023 commits. I think that's big for Baylor. Sean Bell, Dave Aranda, Jeff Grimes, they've recruited him really hard, and they've kind of put Baylor in a position where the relationship and kind of the message has been so consistent for so long that it's kind of one of those things that's been hard to overlook for Austin. It's just consistency, right? It's hard to look past that because you know you're wanted, you know you're the priority. So, like I said, his decision's coming next week. That's kind of where he's at in his recruitment. He's going to take these visits, take the final visit on Saturday to Baylor, and then make his decision next week. Don't have a confirmed date or time yet, but that's kind of his timeline. So in a week, you'll probably know where Austin Novosad is going to end up next season. My take is this. I think him not going to the A&M pool party on Saturday and instead coming to Baylor for a camp and an event with Baylor commits is a great sign for Baylor keeping him. I think the Notre Dame visit, while being very cool and is something that Austin clearly wants to do, and it could be something that completely changes his mind, that's a possibility. But I think they're late, and since it's not an official visit, he's really not going to get to see everything there. He's only going to get to see kind of whether it's a good fit for him or not. And I just don't think he's going to be able to come off that visit and be like, okay, I'm going to throw away these months that Baylor's been recruiting me and these other schools have been recruiting me to go to Notre Dame. I don't think you can convince me that that can happen quite yet. And Ohio State not getting a visit this week, I think that's kind of a big deal, but also not really. He hasn't seen Notre Dame, so it makes sense for him to want to go see Notre Dame instead of going to Ohio State. But it is intriguing because if you go to Notre Dame, you could still get to Ohio State the next day, but he's not doing that. And so I think that's pretty telling as well as far as where Ohio State is probably at in his recruitment. So at the end of the day, I do think next week, sometime during the week, I think it'll probably be announced by Austin that he's going to stay committed to Baylor. That's my anticipation and prediction for Austin Novosad going forward, and that would be massive for the Baylor program. He'd be the second highest rated quarterback commit that they've had, signee, I guess, if he signs in December, since Jarrett Stidham, who was the number 34 quarterback in his class back in 2015. And I just think this would be a huge kind of move for this Baylor program to get someone of this caliber, allow Sean Bell, Jeff Grimes to groom him and mold him into one of the best quarterbacks in the country, give Dave Aranda another really good quarterback in that quarterback room, and continue to elevate this Baylor program to where they want to take it. And Austin is a huge piece of that puzzle for this Baylor staff. Make no mistake about it. So we should know in the next week or so kind of where Austin is going to go, where one of the top quarterbacks in the country is going to end up. And either way, it's going to be a massive get for whoever lands the 4-star quarterback. But for today, this has been Grayson Grunhafer. Thanks for tuning in.